Can you start a podcast with me, please? I need something to do.
Pastrnak sent it out in front of Malkin to save. They score! Elias Lindholm looks to the heavens.
Here's a chance. Potter right in and goal. He scores. Oh my! What a move by the rookie.
2-on-1. Pastrnak moving in with Marchand. Get it to it. Score!
The zone. Coyle dances in. Backhand score!
Lindholm right wing corner. Pastrnak is there. He scores! David Pastrnak wins it for Boston.
Welcome in, everyone, to another episode of Bruins Tape to Tape. I'm your host today, Caroline with a K. It's May, and the Boston Bruins are no longer playing playoff hockey. But before I continue on with talking about the sadness that is being a Boston Bruins fan, let's welcome in my fantastic co-host, Maria. Hey, Maria, how's it going?
Oh, it's okay. I'm probably going to talk about the sadness that is being a Boston sports fan this weekend. We're here. We woke up. We got out of bed. We're breathing.
Somebody's got to sage TD Garden or hire some Etsy witches to
First of all, they need to put the yellow seats back in, number one, melt the ice entirely, burn the parquet floor, and start all over again.
Yeah, it's a bad luck spot right now in Boston. If you like those haunted history tours, I'm sure that's the scariest place in the entire city right now.
For anyone who's not aware of what we're alluding to, on Friday night, the Bruins' playoff chances ended abruptly with yet another loss on home ice. And then we had our Boston Celtics, who were up 3-1 on Philadelphia 76ers and proceeded to lose Game 7 on the TD Garden parquet floor. So, who is more miserable than we are here in Boston right now? Oh, and then we have the head coach of our football team who is dealing with a myriad of cheating allegations, and a Boston Red Sox team who absolutely sucks. And now you have young players arguing with veteran players or trying to show each other up on the field. For those who have been waiting to enjoy our misery across the sports world, here you have it. I am giving it to you on a platter, and we deserve all that we have coming our way at this point.
They should enjoy it now, because if anything has taught me in sports, the city of Boston will not be down for long. It's the city of champions for a reason. But besides being sad that the Boston Bruins season is over, we can be happy to some extent that there is still hockey to watch that will be significantly less stressful for us, because it doesn't matter what happens here on out.
When you don't have a dog in the fight, it's funny how enjoyable the sport and the games can be to watch.
Indeed. And of the 3 teams facing elimination on Friday night, the Montreal Canadiens and the Tampa Bay Lightning were the only game that actually resulted in a Game 7. And that happened just the other night. And it was a history in the making kind of game.
When a professional hockey team who is in a Game 7 can only put, what was the final shots on goal?
9 shots
10,
on goal.
maybe? 9 shots on goal, and you win the freaking game. If you're the Tampa Bay Lightning, you're sitting there going, how the hell did this happen?
I hope that the Bruins coaching staff and Bruins players paid very close attention to how the Habs were able to accomplish something like that, because this season, Boston, at least at the very end, was quite good at getting very few shots on goal, but they couldn't win. And the Sabres will be playing the Habs in the second round. We've already seen Carolina and Philadelphia get started. And by the time this episode airs, they'll already have had their second game. But that one is going to be an interesting series to see how Philadelphia responds, because holy cow, did they get steamrolled.
Yeah, they looked a little bit deer in the headlights.
Yes.
Game 1 against Carolina. Rick Tocchet is a very good seasoned coach. I'm sure that he'll have his guys a little bit more alert to what's going on. And Vladar didn't have a great game either. And to some degree, he was left a bit high and dry in some instances. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I'm hoping Philly gives the Canes a little bit more of a run for their money, but we'll see. Carolina's been there, done that on more than one occasion, and this is new territory for the Philadelphia Flyers.
It sure is. And Carolina, their ability to just absolutely pepper the opposing team with shots. The only way I can see Carolina being stopped is, besides their annual choke fest in the third round, is a team that is exceptionally strong defensively with exceptional goaltending. That's really all that it's going to take. And there doesn't seem to be very many teams out there that have a defensive structure that is particularly built to play against a team like Carolina, which is fascinating because the way that Carolina plays isn't new. This is how they've been playing with Radbad for quite a while. And I don't know. Nobody seems to have created some kind of opposing defensive structure against that.
And to your point of last week's episode, Freddie Anderson has been fantastic. So in the West.
Out in the West, Colorado and Minnesota have kicked off their series. As we suspected, it's probably going to be a well-matched fight.
15 goals in the first game. Where was the defense and the goaltending in that game?
That was an interesting tone-setting game, especially with the fact that Colorado has been sitting and waiting. And same thing with Carolina. They've been sitting and waiting, and you never know how that's going to go.
I know. It didn't appear to be much rest in either one of those teams. But yeah, I was a little shocked by that 9-6 score in game one. That's crazy.
Yeah. And then we've got the Vegas Golden Knights playing Anaheim, and I'm sure that's going to be a snooze fest. And as a hockey fan, I can tell you that is not one of the games I will be staying up to make an effort to watch.
I have very little interest in watching that game. I think I was more interested in hearing the post-game comments by Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid. I'm not sure how things are going to turn out in Edmonton at this point, where you've got both of your superstars players that your franchise has taken steps backwards.
That's not something you want to hear, and it does make you wonder what kind of message they were sending, either on purpose or not, to ownership and management, because we're going to take it right back to the Boston Bruins, because our very own franchise player, David Pastrnak, had some interesting things to say after the game on Friday, where he said, of course, it's disappointing. I'm turning 30 in a couple of weeks. Had one sniff at the cup so far. It gets harder every single year. You don't want to waste any opportunity. What do you make of his comments? Is there anything to read into it? Should we be worried?
What I read into it is a plea for help to management. Get this guy some fucking help. We have been dealing with conversations around this team's lack of scoring for years now. I'm not talking 1 season, 2 season, 4 years. You can't keep shopping in Filene's basement and putting contracts that are like a noose around your neck against your cap space and thinking that the results are ever going to change. Okay? The reality is the Bruins lost to the Buffalo Sabres because they couldn't score more goals than the Buffalo Sabres did. That's the reality of it. You couldn't score because you don't have proven finishers on this team. And Morgan Geekie disappeared when you needed him most. Elias Lindholm disappeared when you needed him most. Pavel Zacha disappeared. And David Pastrnak is subject to criticism. I understand that. He is your superstar, but he's also the one player on your team that every other team knows they can just target and try to shut him down and prevent him from doing what he is capable of doing. So to me, how I read that is a cry for help. Now, at some point, Swayman and Neely need to shit or get off the pot. Shit or get off the pot.
Yeah.
And address the gaping pull that this team has had for quite some time.
Agreed. I think it's been particularly frustrating seeing David Pastrnak this last season. Look, I'm not saying that he was relegated to a playmaker's role. I think that that's
No, but he acknowledged that he should have taken more shots. It's easy to say that now, and when you now you want to say, well, why did you pass up, right? Why did you pass up? You wonder why people are like antsy in the building and booing. It's because you guys are passing up open looks. I don't know if it's a mindset, a philosophy, or what the hell the problem is.
I mean, I wonder, was he passing the puck all that frequently or making these plays all that frequently in an effort to diversify the goal scoring to see, can we get other people going? The problem that I've had over the last 5 years has been the fact that you will have flash in the pan players. And we just, with the exception of David Pastrnak, we just have not had or seen in a very long time another player outside of Pasta who is a reliable offensive threat. We had the second line this season. They were
one of the
awesome.
best lines in the league, yes. But then Arvidsson goes out with an injury, right?
Right. But it feels like it came out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere,
So
yes.
how can I then assume that is the real deal?
Right,
Because we've seen Pavel Zacha be mediocre in the scoring department for a very long time. And then all of a sudden he is great. We saw Charlie Coyle be really disappointing for a long time. And then all of a sudden he was great for 1 or 2 seasons. Brandon Carlo, mediocre for a really long time. And then 1 or 2 seasons, he was great. And then they just drop off. Where are these players? And I hate to always go backwards because it doesn't do us any good. But we don't have a new David Krejci. We don't have a new Patrice Bergeron or a new Brad Marchand. We don't have those players who you look at them and they are great year after year. We just don't see that consistency on this roster. So there's no reliable depth and you're at the mercy of, well, I hope this is a good season. And it's likely that if you have these flash in the pan guys, they will go hot and cold. And that's exactly what happened with that second line.
I think management should be well aware of the fact that it was malfeasance on their part not to plan for the day that Patrice Bergeron and David Krejci were no longer Boston Bruins. And now you're trying to piecemeal something together in the hope that lightning strikes and that voila, look, we found the guy, right? We just found the guy in a deal. And those guys don't fall off of trees easily.
Right.
They don't. They don't. Now, you've got James Higgins, who will see what he is able to bring to the table in his first full season. There was no reason to throw that kid into this scenario right now. Absolutely none, as far as I'm concerned. Look, I'm the one who at the start of the season, and I'll call myself out, my prediction was they wouldn't even make the playoffs with the roster that we were looking at in front of us. So for them to have played as decently as they did throughout the course of the regular season and to make the playoffs, they proved me wrong. What they didn't prove to themselves is that they had the mental fortitude to fight through the adversity and deal with whatever issue they have with fucking winning at home and be able to take advantage of the scoring opportunities when they presented themselves. Look, Alec Lyon for the Sabres played really well. Did he play better than Jeremy Swayman? Okay, maybe statistically he did, but he wasn't challenged as much as Swayman was. If you had been able to get him moving from side to side,
100%.
100%, but you couldn't even manage that. So that is an inherent flaw on you, an inherent criticism on you and the roster construction, and also credit to the Buffalo Sabres for their defensive structure. Both things can be true, but what is more frustrating is that there was too much, and we've said this a lot during the regular season, too much one and done offensively. Too much of it. You're not going to have any sustained success with that kind of a recipe.
Yes, exactly. And I think even when we're talking about the fact that the Bruins management has not been able to bring in anybody who is sustaining any kind of offensive prowess, it seems like the only players who they were able to get that out of were all players that they drafted themselves. Maybe that means James Hagens is going to eventually fill one of those roles, but I think one of the things that Bruins management, scouting, whoever, they like to try and find that diamond in the rough. And look, I think that we've gotten lucky and we've certainly found some of those diamonds in the rough. But unfortunately, it still doesn't seem like any of them are actual diamonds. They've been, I don't know, some kind of precious gem, a ruby, an emerald, but not one of them is a diamond, right? I'm thinking of Morgan Geekie. And again, I'm not in disagreement with the contract that he landed. I am not dissatisfied with Morgan Geekie. I just think he's not been tested long enough.
He's not a big game player.
No.
He's not a big game player. I think this is an opportunity for us to be honest about what we saw, and I expected him to step up as he had done during the regular season, and he was virtually invisible. You want me to encourage the re-signing of Pavel Zacha? I don't know. Because I don't see enough from these players that instill the faith that I want these guys to be part of this continuous rebuild or retool or whatever the hell the Bruins organization wants to call it that they're doing right now. And I'll throw Charlie McAvoy into that bucket too. You know, I haven't been shy about saying that. He is, to me, one of the most overrated defensemen that I have seen in my long tenure of watching hockey. To me, a franchise-altering defenseman is Cale Makar. Charlie, you are no Cale Makar.
No.
And maybe that's not what the Bruins need him to be or want him to be, but I don't view him as our franchise-altering defenseman. I'm sorry.
And one of the other things that, again, I hate living in the past here, but it's what's missing when I talk about David Krejci. What was his nickname? What did we say? Oh, here it comes.
Playoff Krejci.
Playoff Kretsch.
Yeah.
Not a single player until quite literally the end in David Pastrnak and Jeremy Swayman, although I would argue he was at such a high level anyways. Not a single other player on that roster elevated their game in this playoff series. Not a single one, in my opinion. Nobody brought it. Nobody showed me that step up, that playoff mentality, that leap in performance. Nobody was explosive. Nobody looked like they were shot out of a cannon, but none of that existed. None of that existed for me.
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree with you. Again, we're going to have these conversations during the off season because clearly there's still a significant amount of work to do in an effort to try and build a potentially championship roster here for the Boston Bruins again.
Yes. And I think that the laundry list of not just their needs from a personnel perspective, there's a clear list there. There's also a clear list of changes that need to happen on the ice behaviorally, the shot taking, the penalty issues, the stick infractions. I'm optimistic to some extent because I think the issues are both fixable and attainable. Thoughts?
I think the fixable part is what is extremely challenging because if you want to fix it quickly, then you need to make a big hockey trade, right? If you're telling me that we can fix it, but we're going to fix it through drafting and patience, okay, but who is it? Who have you identified that you're going to fix this problem with? Because listen, based on what David said, he's going to be 30 years old, okay, this summer. How many more hockey years does he have? Realistically, how many more hockey years does he have? Do you, and I'm talking to you, Sweeney and Neely, do you want to run the risk of having this guy who clearly wants another opportunity at a Stanley Cup. How long do you think he's going to wait around for that? How long do the people in Edmonton think that Connor McDavid is going to wait around for that before they go to their agents and say, get me the hell out of here? We're looking at another 4 or 5 years before, and it's so hard to get there. It is so freaking hard to get there. How long do you think these guys are going to sit around waiting for that to occur?
I think I wouldn't blame a single elite player for making that request. And quite frankly, even though there was significant pain involved around it with Brad Marchand, he used that same privilege last year to his benefit. Right now, it's easy to talk about because it's not realistic. It's not something that's happening right now. Marchand, we're a year removed. We saw that it was ultimately worth it for him in the long run for what he wanted and why he did it. But I think it's a very real possibility that hopefully those idiots in the front office don't allow to happen.
I'm sure they're very well aware of where their deficiencies are on this roster. Yes. But the question is how to get them addressed and how long it's going to take to get them addressed. And what risk do you run that your veterans like David Pastrnak, maybe they aren't. I don't know. But I think if it's me and I'm 30 years old and I'm looking at another 4 or 5 years of potentially trying to rebuild this team, peace out. Get me out of here.
Yes, agreed. So let's do a real quick stick taps for the series as a whole.
Jeremy Swayman absolutely told us all to have a cup of you know what, because we were all very critical of him. Mm-hmm. A lot was made of the contract that he signed, but there is no arguing in my mind that Jeremy Swayman was the best Boston Bruin player in this series versus the Sabres.
Oh, hands down, 100% in agreement. I think he's the only one that I would give a genuine stick tap to as well. For David Pastrnak, let's just say he's excused from the conversation entirely.
Yes and no, in my view. The leaders on this team, and I'm talking about Pasta and Charlie and Hampus Lindholm, they needed to be difference makers. And they were not. They absolutely were not difference makers in this series. And I know you've got a mixture of vets and young kids, but those are the guys that are wearing the letters on their jerseys. When you have captains in the past or leaders in the past, the likes of which were Zdeno Chara and Patrice Bergeron and Brad Marchand, and you physically see them just by their performance on the ice saying to their teammates and to the fans, watch me and do as I do. Did you see any of that in this series against Buffalo?
Not until it was too late.
And I don't think you need to have a C on your jersey or a letter on your jersey to do that. But that was definitely missing.
Yes. That also, for playoff purposes, that's what your game in the playoffs requires of every player. And even in the regular season. And next week, we'll do a whole season review postmortem evaluation. But even all during the regular season, we never saw anybody take the team on their back. We saw David Pastrnak do that last year, right around the time that Brad Marchand was traded away. If you follow me on my socials, you'll know that I am coming to the opinion that when it is time to name the next captain of the Boston Bruins, I think it needs to come from the outside.
Yeah.
Because as much as I love David Pastrnak, I think he's earned it. I almost wondered if him taking on that leadership role with the departure of Brad Marchand, if that, the pressure, the expectations, whatever you want to call it, if that was detrimental to his game. Or maybe he felt like he had to be a different player. Maybe he felt he had to be that playmaker to be a leader. I don't know, obviously. I think that it did something to his game. And Boston, as much as we talk about the things that they need, the things that they were missing, he's that bird in hand. And we need to make sure that no matter what happens, he's still that reliable goal scorer. I mean, we only have the one. And we need to make sure that he's still performing in that role. I mean, he had, yes, 100 points this season, but nowhere near the goals that we're used to. And I don't know. I'm starting to feel like whatever the decision is made, I don't think they're going to go looking outside. But I do think that it negatively impacted his performance on the ice. But penalty box, is anyone not in the box otherwise? What about the kids?
Everyone but Jeremy. I mean, the kids were the kids. I don't think did they play well? Did they play poorly? I'm kind of middle of the road. They weren't very noticeable. They didn't have any type of an impact in the end results of games. So I'm not going to dump on them because I expected more from other. Like if we were putting our eggs all in the kid basket, then we were in bigger trouble than we thought we were in. Same thing with the fourth line. They performed well, but if you're putting all your eggs in that basket, you're in big trouble. You're in really big trouble.
Yeah. I agree. I do think that Kusnedinov started to become a little bit more noticeable in the final 2 games of the series. I liked his game. He was in a lot of places. I think he's got a lot of speed. He's also still very young. So this is not the top of his game. I think he has more to give. I think also with Fraser Minton, he's another one. He's young, and it's not that they are not fast enough or strong enough, but you could definitely see a lot of our more inexperienced and younger players just not as strong on the puck as someone like David Pastrnak. And so constantly then just being pickpocketed and pushed around because they just didn't have whatever it takes, strength, physical strength of mind, whatever it takes to be strong on the puck and maintain possession. But I'm not worried about them. I think as long as they continue to be developed properly, and I think under the guidance of Marco Sturm, they will be, that they'll become better.
Hopefully the series was a learning experience for these younger guys. I will say, though, we do need to touch upon Charlie McAvoy's actions at the end of the game.
Yes. I'm going to come out on record and say, I don't care what the other guy did to you. I don't care if he boarded you to within an inch of your life. I think it's unacceptable that he turned around and tried to do a Trouba.
Yeah, it's disgusting. It's absolutely,
I'd rather have seen him try and throw a punch.
No, it's
than
shitty. It's
stick.
Just shitty action. It's dirty. And I understand what was done to you, what precipitated the action was dirty as well. But your stick is not a freaking weapon, and you're going to get suspended, Charlie. When you're offered an in-person hearing, you are going to get a suspension. It's just a question of how many games that suspension is going to be.
Yes. Ever since, and I call it swinging a Trouba, ever since Trouba walked away without any sort of repercussion for doing that to Trent Frederick a couple of years ago, it seems like any other time that it has happened since, player safety has taken that very seriously. And
because they screwed that one up, totally screwed it up.
They did. And for a leader to do that, again, it's disgusting.
Right.
There's no excuse.
No, none. Yeah. I hope you enjoy your first 3 or 4 games watching from the 8th floor, Charlie, to start next season, because it's going to be, I'm guessing it's going to be at least 3 games.
Think that many? We'll see.
I mean, I don't know. Is Charlie a first-time offender? I don't know.
Of that sort, yes. It's not the first time he's been suspended.
I don't think that factors in. I think it's just a matter of now you're going to be labeled as a quote-unquote repeat offender. I'd be surprised if it isn't at least 3 games. But
yeah. With that being said, we'll watch our Stanley Cup playoff hockey, slightly sad, but at least relieved of the stress and anxiety that was watching the Boston Bruins play against the Buffalo Sabres.
And I'm making it known that my rooting interests moving forward are with the Buffalo Sabres.
I'm not there yet. I'm still bitter. I'm not there yet. I want to see them really earn their spot, because I don't think that they were actually genuinely challenged in any meaningful way against Boston after the first 2 games.
Well, I don't know how much of a challenge they're going to get against a team that can only manage 9 shots on goal in a game, but we shall see what the Montreal Canadiens bring them.
Make sure you like and subscribe for more content, and be sure to leave a rating and review to help other Bruins fans find us. You can support the podcast by joining our Patreon or following us on our socials at Tape to Tape MK. and on Substack at tapetotapemk.substack.com. Any final thoughts, Maria?
I can't even say what we normally say in closing.
Again?
The Bruins season is over. It ended as I expected it to end, with some bitter disappointment. That's all I have to say.
I'll say it. As always, go Bees.